Talks. Welcome to our next video in the accessibility series. In this video, we're going to explore the idea of page and module titles, and maybe more appropriately, just naming conventions in general. Our WCAG standards get into the specifics of names and titles and consistent navigation. Really, the focus is that consistent navigation piece. And some of that is taken care of by Canvas and how things get navigated as far as the next and back buttons and things like that. But we can create consistent navigation in our naming conventions of all of the elements that we put into our courses. So what do we mean? We're just saying that any page, assignment, discussion, module should be clear and descriptive in its title so that students know what to expect. So what does that actually look like? We're saying is our module should be clear. It shouldn't just be Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3. It should be Unit 1 and then the topic. And then as we name things within the module, any pages that have content, any assignments, discussions, exams, quizzes, projects, whatever it might be, when we create those, we're very clear and intentional in saying that this is the Unit 4 marketing assignment, and then maybe a description of the assignment, or at least a consistent, naming, numbering convention for assignments. How you do that is more up to you. The bigger thing is consistency and making sure that we are clear in labeling everything so we know where different pieces fit, even if they're out of a module for some reason. They still kind of can stand on their own. Why is this important? A couple different reasons. One thing that is a consistent theme throughout this whole series is screen readers. If I rely on a screen reader, being able to have clear titles helps me get to the right place. I'm going through a module and the screen reader is reading the material to me. I might have to click on 3 or 4 different things if the titles aren't very clear, which could be frustrating as I try to find things. But if I know that this is Unit 3 polynomials homework, I can go through and find, I know we're Unit 3, I know what the topic is, I'm looking for the homework, I'm looking for the practice. If that's all included in the name, it makes it easier for me to be able to find where I'm going. It improves just general clarity. We don't have the issue where students are spending brain power on trying to figure out where their assignment is or what's the next thing to do or what they're even looking at. We can focus in on the context, and then it makes it more searchable. A lot of things have some sort of a search tool. Canvas has a couple different ways to search. So maybe I don't remember exactly what the name of something was, but I know it was a practice set that I wanted to find. Well, if every practice set includes the words practice set, I could search that and then find, the one I'm looking for a little more easily. I know sometimes this becomes a little bit of a mildly controversial subject because we take the standpoint of students should be able to figure it out. And I agree with that in some regards. And my former time as a teacher, there were times that I felt that way too. But just to provide a different thought process, if you think about a textbook and how they were set up for a very long time, chapters are clearly laid out. The topics are clearly stated. If there's review stuff in the middle of a chapter, review questions, they're usually very clearly labeled review questions. They might have an icon that goes with it so students know what that is. If there's a little check for understandings on pages, those are consistent throughout. If there's practice materials at the end of a chapter, those things are all the same. So we had that for a long time, and then as things have shifted more online, it's not something that we always think about because we didn't always create the content. Now sometimes we're doing a little bit of both. So as we name our materials, we want to keep that in mind and keep it consistent. I've even seen instructors go through and add a layer to this and put emojis in titles. Any homework has a little paper and pencil. Any test has a question mark. Any super important material maybe has got the exclamation point or the alert siren. And I know people have mixed feelings on using those things, but again, what we're trying to do is make it easier for students to navigate the course from an accessibility standpoint of somebody that does have a disability or even just a student that doesn't have any of those things, just making life easier so they can focus on learning the content we're trying to teach. How do we go about doing this? I don't think we need to go into Canvas. We've all, at this point, created a page or an assignment or a quiz or something. And if not, then we have other videos on how to do that. Again, it's just making sure that we're consistent, the week number and the topic, and maybe the purpose or the unit number, however you want to do it. Again, there's not necessarily a right or wrong way as long as you're being consistent and you're being detailed, keeping in mind that we don't want it to be too short and leave too much to kind of have to decipher. We also don't want it to be overly technical so that our assignment names are 250 characters, that becomes difficult on the other side of things. Not to mention it makes your grade book a mess. So we just want to make sure that we're being consistent in how we do that. So real quick, just to recap, it's a pretty straightforward topic: do's and don'ts. Make sure that we're consistent in our naming patterns and we're specific. You can see some examples there on the screen. And then making sure that we're consistent across modules. Okay, our modules should follow a similar pattern. Not to say that you couldn't have a module where maybe there's more assignments in a certain area, or maybe there's a project in one, or maybe there's more videos in something. But as long as the naming conventions are consistent, we're good. We don't want to be vague. We don't want to say just page or content or test. We don't want to just say module 2.1 by itself. We want to add some context onto that. We don't want to use abbreviations unless they're commonly known. So if we're talking about ADA and accessibility, ADA is important. We would know what that is at this point. But to just create our own abbreviation of AXDIS, it gets to the general point, but it's probably not well known. So just make sure that we're being mindful of that. It kind of goes with the general jargon concept that's covered elsewhere in this series. And as I mentioned earlier, don't rely on the module structure alone to provide context. The pages should stand on their own. So the module should help support that context, but I should be able to go through, and if I just gave a student a list of everything in the course, they should be able to go through and pick out, this was assigned reading, this was a practice set, this was a group project, this was a discussion board, pretty easily, even if they're not within that module. The module just structures those things together. The page titles should be able to stand on their own. If you have questions about this, or you are not sure if you're setting yours up right, or you just want a little more guidance, obviously feel free to reach out, but hopefully this gives you a better understanding of why those are important.